Hi, it's Story with Tatum Studio. I've had a local artist reach out to me to build a TeePee Base. It's for the Truth and Reconciliation Act, and it's made out of MDF, and there's a bunch of little triangles that are put into this large triangle that has basically in the shape of a teepee. So I just got a large 4-foot by 8-foot sheet here, and I'm just cutting the triangles into strips. So when I put them, cut those little triangle pieces, it'll be easy to do. I did end up cutting them on my miter sled here, and I set the angle to 30 degrees, and I just kind of pushed it up against the fence, and once it's pushed up against the fence, that sets the width, so I can just do those repeated cuts back and forth and flipping it over. And as I cut those little pieces, they just sort of pushed off in the side a little bit, but they did kind of build up, so I had to pull them away. Now, I cut about 500 pieces in total, and it took actually a lot less time than I thought it would. Yeah, I just ended up laying them all out here so I can get the complete final length, just because those weren't cut at exactly 4 inches like the customer requested. They were just off by a little bit, but that sort of error compounds over the length of all those triangles. And as well, the angle cut at 30 degrees is not perfect, so I just want to give myself some wiggle room. And then also, whenever people would, well, the kids would paint on those, there might be a little bit of glue on the edge, so it just creates a bit of a gap. But overall, it turned out really good. And when we get to the end of the video, you'll see all those little triangles painted and put in. This is kind of enjoyable to watch. It's almost like one of those oddly satisfying videos you see all over the YouTube, all over other channels there. So flip over some of the pieces and rearrange a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty good at the end. A little thumbs up there. But then now I just cut the big triangle there, and I just used my track saw here, and had to sort of recut a few times because the angle was just a little off. But yeah, there's a little bit of burn marks, and it was kind of hard to clamp it because it was a weird angle, and I had it on my workbench, but it was good at the end. So here's just cutting the other side, and then once I'm all done cutting it, just sort of moving it over, and I had 4 trays in total. And after I did those trays, I did the edging on it, and I used some ash that I had, and just running it over the jointer here, flattening the one side, and just doing the edge. I did run them through the planer, but I think I lost the footage on that. But just cutting those strips so they're about 2 inches high, and the MDF is 1/2 inch, so the 1/2 inch MDF, the base, and then the little triangles. So there's about a 1 inch gap all the way around. And yeah, it was a good visually. It was a bit of a separation there between the triangles, and yeah, just cutting them down to strips. So after I cut that, I just cut the edge on the bottom where it joins up to the bottom of the TeePee, and I got a bunch of boards there, and just left that same angle on my miter sled and just cutting them there. Now I am doing a half lap joint, but I'm just squaring up the edges here now. After I've done that, I'm just cutting them to length on the miter saw. I need to get my cameraman to fix his angle a little bit there. Here I am in my way, and you can see my back and my shoulder, so it's a good shot for you. Here's that lap joint. Now I did set the height of that table saw blade and then the angle, and after I cut that, I'm just sanding all those pieces down just so that when I attach them, it's pretty difficult to sand that at the end, but just did a light sand with 120 grit. The jointer did a pretty good job of leaving a pretty clean face. I did also use a round over bit, a 1/8 round over, and just kind of did the edges there and just took that down so when I glue it later it's not quite as awkward because it's a pretty big piece. I just set it into place and it fits pretty good. Now there was a little bit of stuff I had to clean out with the chisel there, and I just sort of took that out, and there's just a little bit of burrs in there, and then it made it nice and flush by the time I put those pieces together. Just applying the glue and getting it started here. Just running a bead of glue just along the side there and getting it set down. Now, it was kind of awkward to clamp it in any sort of way, so I had to use a pin nailer, and I just nailed them in. Some of the nails actually ended up going through at a bit of an angle, so I had to use a pair of pliers and some little snips there just to take them off. And once I did that, I was able to just sand them down, and so they didn't catch on anything. And after they were all assembled, I just ran the sander on it. There was a few little gaps and there was some glue squeeze out, so I just cleaned that out. And once I did that, I was able to also run the 1/8 round over bit all the way around, and it was a nice clean finish once it was all said and done. I ended up using India ink to stain it black. Now, India ink does cover really well, but I did have to brush into those nooks and crannies a little bit just to get it completely filled. The backing where the triangles were attached, the MDF kind of soaked it up weird, so it was a little bit muddled, but that was okay because they would be covered anyways. Just use a spray can of polyurethane just to give it a coat, and I wanted a little bit of protection from if there was any water or anything that got on it, so I sprayed the entire back and just made sure that I had a good coat on it and covered them all up. And yeah, it was a satin finish I used, so they turned out nice. And the client, which is named Lance, he was really happy with how it turned out, and I was happy too, so it was really good. TeePees were all done. I just had a few pictures of them, and all those little triangle inserts turned out awesome. And you know, I'm really happy that I was a part of a project like this, just a very small part of it, but it's nice to be able to work with local artists. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.